If you haven't noticed, it's chick season. They are everywhere and so cheap, so tempting. And if you're thinking about getting some chicks or maybe some other type of poultry and you're not quite sure how to start, this video is going to help you start off right. So stay tuned. Maybe it's the eggs, maybe it's the lifestyle. Whatever the reason is, you're looking at chickens. And these quirky birds are by far the easiest livestock to begin with. There are a lot of places to find baby chicks. You could go to a hardware and feed store like 415 Pro Hardware. You can go to a Tractor Supply, Craigslist even. There's hatcheries, or maybe there's farmers like me. Either way, you will probably find somebody who knows chickens that can help you out in the neighborhood. So many of you are just getting started with chickens, and you're going to hear some unfamiliar words. You're going to hear straight run, which just means you're getting chickens that are both male and female. You're going to hear the word pullets, which just means female birds. Or even cockerels, which is just a young rooster. There's also zoning regulations. If you're in town and you're thinking about getting chickens, make sure that you can get them. A lot of times you're allowed them. You're allowed 3 hens and no roosters, but it's particular with each different town. Now, baby chicks grow fast. Soon, within a couple weeks, they'll be feathered out and they'll be ready to move out of the brooder. What's the next step? What's the next step? Well, I'll go into that on a further video, but just know you need a coop and a run. Chickens do a lot of destruction in a garden. So if you're thinking about just letting them go and not having any fences, you're going to be pretty sad, whether it's a vegetable garden or a flower garden. All kinds of predators are out there and they all think chickens are tasty. There are dogs, cats, there's hawks, there's owls, there's foxes, weasels, skunks, possums, and the list goes on. This is why it's important to have a nice, secure run. We'll get into that at another date. Just keep in mind, you're going to need a place for them once they get older. It's really important to wash your hands after handling birds. So they, just like reptiles, can carry E. coli and salmonella. If you practice proper hand washing, proper cleanliness with the cages, you shouldn't have any problem with that. But just in case, keep little ones, keep them away from your mouth, don't give them kisses. A brooder is a safe place for chicks to grow up. It provides heat, food, and water. In nature, a mother hen would be the one taking care of her chicks. Since she isn't here, it's up to us to do the mother hen's job. Typically, a brooder comes in the form of a box or tub, which helps keeps the chicks contained and the temperature regulated. I'm going to show you 2 of the most simplest brooders. There are 4 things you need to add to your brooder to make your chickens happy. There is bedding or litter that's going to soak up all the waste and the smell. There is lights, which are going to produce heat so that your chickens stay warm. There is water, and then there's food. We'll get into all that separately. Your most common source for bedding is going to be pine shavings. You don't want to use cedar as that can aggravate the lungs. The pine shavings are economical, they're very easy to use, you're going to find them everywhere. You could also use sand as a bedding. It's a very good option as long as it's kept dry. If it gets wet, it can harbor bacteria. There's peat moss, there's shredded newspapers, there's all types of beddings that you can use. For heating your brooder, you're going to be using a reflecting brooding lamp. This particular one has a clamp for safety. You put this into your box. And then there's also this hook ring where you attach it, you can hang it. Just in case it were to fall, this particular lamp has a guard. It goes over, flip it upside down, and it hooks on the rim here. Now, the light bulb gets very hot, so you want to keep it away from any flammable surfaces. You have 2 light options. You have a red and you have a clear. They both do the same thing, which is to keep your chicks warm. The red emits a red light that helps keep your chickens from picking. Picking is when the chick will go over to the other chick and start making wounds on it. This also helps the chickens fall asleep because it's not as harsh as the clear light. That is why I choose the red light. The first week, they're gonna be about 100 degrees or so. Then every week after that, you're gonna take it off so it's about 5 degrees less. Your birds are gonna tell you if it's hot and cold by location. If they're clustered in a bunch right underneath the lamp, that's telling them that they're really cold. If they're scattered about at the far corners, it's really hot. Now, if they're milling about going back and forth, some are under the lamp, some are in the corners, some are everywhere, then the temperature is gonna be just right. If you're new to feeders and waterers, we have a variety of different sizes of each. Everything from a regular quart to gallons to 5 gallons. If you don't understand how it actually works, you're going to fill this, you're going to put your top on, and then as you flip it over and the chicks drink, the water level is going to drop. You can use the same thing with the food. Put your food in, you put your feeder base down, screw it in, put it down, and then as the chicks eat, it will slowly decline, and then you fill it up when it's empty. In addition to our standard waterers, you have the option to be creative and handy. You can use the cups or the chicken watering nipples instead of the gravity feeders. This allows them to drink whenever they need. All they have to do is hit the little yellow thing and water will come out. Or for the chicken watering nipples, there's this little metal thing. As soon as they hit that, it'll start dripping. Obviously, if you have a larger number of chicks, you want to use a bigger water or bigger feeder. This means less work for you in the long run. So let me explain why chickens need grit. Their anatomy is different than ours. Obviously, they have feathers, they have beaks, but they don't have teeth, so they can't grind up their food. So in order for them to grind, they need to swallow stones or pebbles, small things that can go into their gullet to help do what molars would have done for us. So I just bought this. Now what am I gonna do with this? I can put this in a cup where they can pick it at their leisure. I can mix it in with their food so that they're getting it as they're eating, or I can sprinkle this on the ground and their curiosity is going to compel them to go over and pick up things. Don't worry if they're not eating mouthfuls though. They only need a couple for in their gullet to grind up all that food. After a chick hatches, it still has 72 hours of nutrients still from the yolk sac. So this is what allows people to be able to ship them safely. They have 3 days in order to get from point A to point B. But that doesn't mean that it's not stressful. They have to do cold, they have to do with the postman, and all this unchanging weather. And they're just born. To start your chicks off right, you'll want to use an electrolyte or a probiotic in with their water. Probiotics help with your digestion, and electrolytes will help keep your birds hydrated. Your first time in a feed store can be daunting. You have to navigate through all these chick feeds. There's medicated, unmedicated, there's soy-free, there's organic, there's scratch, there's grit, there's mealworms, there's stuff you can only feed for ducks, there's stuff you can only feed for flight birds. What do I do? There's a lot of bags here. What do I get? There is pig, there's horse. Look, there's a chicken. That must be what I need. Wrong, that's for a more mature bird. So let's go over to our specialty section where we're going to focus on baby chicks. Let's start off at the top. We've got garden snacks, chick sticks, mealworms. Is that my diet? These guys are snacks. This is what's akin to a potato chip, not your main diet. You've got chick starter that's medicated. Do my chickens need medication? You could if you'd like. This is like any other vaccine. The Amprol in it will prevent against certain diseases. Now if you have any waterfowl or ducks, you want to keep away from medication. They can easily overdose on this feed over here while they're safer with the non-medicated. Let's work our way down. You have game bird and show bird. This you can use for any type of bird. Again, as long as it's non-medicated, and this one is non-medicated. You've got your oyster shells, which provide calcium to your older birds, whereas this one right here is what you're going to use for your baby birds. Then, if you have a lot of birds, it is worth it to go for a larger bag. So you are going to use it all, trust me. You've got your all grain here, which is a 25-pound bag, and I know with my birds, they'll eat it all very quickly. You can even feed that to waterfowl. Then you've got your soy-free. Soy is a protein that people tend to be allergic to, and it's an extra bonus if you tend to feed them with a soy-free feed. Scratches, cracked corn, again, that's a junk food. Now, if you are raising something like a turkey, pheasant, chucker, and you want to try that as your first chicks, then you're going to have to go with a sport bird flight developer. Like, this is the beginning feed for that. You want it in a crumble, and then you can move on as the bird gets older to a pellet. If you have meat birds for your first time and you want to give them feed, it's okay. You can start them off with this feed right here. Because they grow so fast and they butcher out so fast, this is the feed you want to do to support muscle growth. So we got a nice 31-gallon tote. This is what you most commonly see as an at-home brooder, and it works great. Just make sure the heat lamp isn't too close, it can melt. All I'm going to be doing is the same thing, literally the same thing. I'm going to be filling it with shavings. I'm going to be putting a heat lamp into it, water, and food, and then adding the baby chicks. Now, because our tote is on the small side, I wanted to make a homemade waterer. So you can see the setup of this tote is a little bit different, just because I use the flip-top feeder and an automatic waterer. Now, a common practice with your birds is when you're first getting them is to hold them like this and then dip their beak into the water to show them where it is. Now, usually it only takes 1 or 2 in order to dip, and then the others follow. But if you're just getting them in the mail, I suggest you do all of them. And there you have it. If you liked this video and it was helpful in any way, please like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel.